Hello, good morning everyone. Today we are going to start with our lesson in English. I'm your teacher Madison. Today we will be talking about evaluating narratives. What should we remember while we are having an online class? What do you think are we going to do? Yes, that's correct. All we have to do is that we are going to focus to the lesson. If possible, you're going to go to a very quiet place so that you can concentrate to our lesson. You have to turn off your microphone, and whenever you are asked by me or by any other else, you are going to unmute and say something. You can take down notes too, and you have to participate well. All right? So let's get it on. In this topic, you will learn how to evaluate narratives based on how the author developed the elements such as the characters and the setting. Knowing this, your literary appreciation will be developed and your vocabulary and comprehension skills may be improved. You will also learn the virtue, courage, and bravery that exist in the different stories that you are going to read. I'm sure that you had read a lot of stories before and until now. So after going through this lesson, you're expected to evaluate narratives based on how the author developed the elements such as the character and the setting. When we say characters, of course, this refers to the heroes and villains in the story. So take a look at this picture. Who are they? This is the story of Peppa Pig, right? So, who are they? Yes, you are correct. They are Peppa Pig's family and they serve as the character in the story. What about this one? Wow, that's good. This is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Of course, all right. If we are going to talk about the setting, yes, they are in the middle of the jungle. Wow. It seems that you had learned a lot from your previous years. Reading good stories will enhance your knowledge and literary skills, spark the imagination, and will stimulate your curiosity. Without these elements, the characters and the settings, stories would not be great and reading would not really be fun. Do you agree with me? Yes, of course. Setting of the story refers to the geographic location, such as the place or scene and the time within the narrative. So take note of that. That setting answers the question where the story happened and what time or when did the story happen. It makes the story vivid and interesting. Usually, the setting is not said directly. Instead, clues are given for the readers to infer. So, in our lesson today, actually, the settings will not really be directly stated in the story. All you have to do is that you're going to understand the story so that you will be able to infer. Setting is the time and place or when and where of the story. So we have here a story. You're going to read and understand a given example of setting in the story. So let's read. As the sun set in the horizon, Jim fixed his things and slowly walked his way home. It was dark and silent. At a distance, he could see his father peeping at the window, waiting for someone. Father came home from the city where he is currently working. Though it was times for Jim missing his father, seeing him once seeing him home once a month makes him happy. So, what is the setting of the story? So, we have here the time, it's nighttime. Actually, it was not stated directly in the story, but you can infer that it was nighttime because of the words or the phrase as the sun set in the horizon. And this sentence, it was dark and silent. So that means it's nighttime. And the place, of course, it's Jim's home, right? Okay, good job. Characters are an important element in the story or in short stories because they drive the story as a whole. Characters who created tension or troubles that would lead to problem or conflict. Marked as bad guy is the antagonist or the villain. Those characters who portray the role of good guy are the heroes or the protagonist. Without these two types of the characters, narrative would not turn interesting. Do you agree? Yes, of course, me too. Actually, they're really the two persons or the two people very important in the story. Because without the villain or without the antagonist, of course, you cannot really show the importance of the protagonist in the story. Characters can be evaluated through their personal qualities and traits. So let's read this story. You have to read and understand a given example of characters in the story. So we have here Jazz was alone at home when someone knocked at the door. Jumping off from her seat, she ran to open the window. Do you have internet connection? Asked the stranger. Jess was scared and nervous. She was actually expecting her mother at the door. She wanted to shut the door, but it was too late. The stranger was so rude that he had already pushed her inside the house. Okay, so who are the characters in the story? So we have Jess and the stranger. And what is the setting? It's Jazz home, right? Okay, so now we are going to focus to the characters. We are going to evaluate the characters here in the story. So as what we had studied a while ago, there are two types of characters. We have the antagonist and the protagonist. So who among you can tell me the protagonist in the story? You are correct. The protagonist of the story is Jazz. Okay? Usually, the protagonist portray a very, the scary one, okay, the good one, the good guy. So Jess here is the protagonist. How about the antagonist? Who can tell me? Yes, you are correct. Antagonist is the stranger because as what you had read in the story, the stranger was so rude. So rude here is, or rude here is the, oh, what's this one? Is the word that could tell us that this stranger is the bad guy. Okay? So we can consider the stranger as the antagonist. All right. So we just evaluated the narrative based on the setting and the character. So take note of this, class, that if you're going to evaluate the narrative, all you have to do first is that you have to read and understand the story. Because if you cannot read and understand the story, of course, how can you answer the questions? How can you evaluate? Next one is that you are going to pick some lines that could prove that he or she is really the antagonist or he or she is really the protagonist. And if the setting is not really stated directly in the story, you have to pick up some lines that could prove that this is nighttime or this is daytime. Okay? So let's start here. Let's have an activity. We are going to read The Lion and the Boar. It was a hot summer day. A lion and a boar reached a small water body for a drink. They began arguing and fighting about who should drink first. After a while, they were tired and stopped for breath. When they noticed vultures above, soon they realized that the vultures are waiting for one or both of them to fall, to feast on them. The lion and the boar then decided that it was best to make up and be friends than fight and become food for vultures. They drink the water together and go their ways after. Okay, so we are going to evaluate the narratives by answering these questions. Who are the characters in the story? So we have three, actually, the lion, the boar, and the vultures. Great, that's correct. Who is the protagonist and why? Okay, so if you're going to read and understand the story, actually in the first two, three, four lines, you might be thinking that one of the lions or the boar, one of them is the antagonist and the protagonist. But actually, in the end, they are the protagonists. So boar and the lion are the protagonists because at the end, they became friends. All right. And you might be thinking, oh, teacher, who is the protagonist? Who is the antagonist then? So the antagonist there, class, is or are the vultures, okay? Because they were the bad guys. They were waiting for the two to die, all right? So they were considered as the antagonist. What is the setting? So can it be a city? Can it be a farm? Of course not. Okay, the setting of the story is in the middle of the jungle because you cannot see a boar and the lion in the city. You cannot even see the boar and the lion in the farm. All right. So this is in the middle of the jungle. Actually, it was not really stated directly in the story, but all you have to do is that you are going to infer the setting. Next one, number 4. Pick some lines that prove the setting in the story. Oh my, we are going to go back to the story. So can you pick up some lines to tell us the setting? Oh, this one, it was a hot summer day. So that means it's daytime, all right? Okay. And there are vultures there. There's a lion and there's a boar, of course. They are in the middle of the jungle because this line, a lion and a boar, reach small water body for a drink. Okay? So you can see that inside the jungle, of course. Next, if you are one of the boar and the lion, will you do the same? Why or why not? So let me ask you this. Of course, yes. Yes, we are going to do the same thing. Because if they're not going to be friends, oh, they will serve as the food of the vultures. Because, vultures are not eating alive people. They are eating dead people or men or animals. Okay? So this time, what should we remember during the group activity? Because we are going to have a group work. Okay, so you have to participate well. You have to share your ideas, okay? So we have here a story, The Foolish Farmer and His Carabao. Listen carefully. The first step is that you're going to read and understand the story. In the town of San Diego, there lived Tatang Juan. He was a farmer and he owned a large farm and a carabao. Its name is Makisig. Every day, Tatang Juan took time to feed Makisig 4 bundles of grass and gave him 4 buckets of water to drink. Makisig grew stronger every day, but Tatang Juan thought otherwise. The following day, he began to teach Makisig to fast. Instead of unusual 2 bundles of grass and buckets of water, Tatang Juan gave him 1. He decided that he would cut Makisig's average amount of consumption for the next few days, just until the carabao learns not to eat nor drink. Makisig was asking for extra food, but Tatang Juan was firm and said, "You have to learn not to eat and drink anymore, so that you will just work and work on the farm while at rest." Eventually, Makisig was so weak because of hunger and thirst, he could not even look up at Tatang Juan. As this, Tatang Juan was ecstatic. Little did he know that on the next day, Makisig was lying dead, starved to death by his master, Tatang Juan. Still, Tatang Juan managed to say, "How stupid and foolish of that Carabao. Why did he die just when he learned not to eat or drink?" Oh, this is really a very bad story, right? It's an awful thing that happened to the Carabao. Okay, so now for group one, all you have to do is to answer the following questions. Who are the characters in the story? Who is the protagonist and why? Who is the antagonist and why? Next one, group two, all you have to do is that you're going to answer this question. What is the setting? Pick up some lines that prove the setting of the story. And if you are Mang Juan, will you do the same? Why? Or why not? For group three, you have to explain through songs or rap how to evaluate the character in the story. And the last one, you are going to explain through poem on how to evaluate the setting of the story. Okay, so now let's answer this. What are the two essential elements of the narrative, the story? Yes, very good. The two essentials or essential elements are the setting and the characters. How do we know that the character is an antagonist, a protagonist? So of course, if it is an antagonist, they are the bad guys, they are the villains in the story. And the protagonists are portraying the hero or the good guy. All right. Number three, why do you think character is setting important in a narrative? Oh, because without them, we cannot have a story. They are really very important elements in the story because they're giving meaning, they're giving, excitement in the story. Without them, oh, of course, there can't be a story. Okay, so let's have this performance task. Remember or take note of these directions. Read the narrative, then answer the questions that follow. Do this in your notebook. So the title of the story is Tony. Listen carefully. There once lived a little herder named Tony in a barrio. One morning, as he saw tending his carabao, as he was, I mean, tending his carabao near the rice field, a car stopped near the road. The man stepped out the car and approached Tony. He asked how far the town is. Tony replied that it is about 2 kilometers. The strangers asked Tony to to ride with him to town and so he will not get lost. I'm sorry, sir, said Tony, but I cannot leave my carabaos. I'm responsible for these carabaos to my father. The man laughed. Just the two men riding on a jeep came, and they are looking for a man. Tony learned that the man is a high government official. After some 20 years, a man came to see Tony. He asked Tony to go with him. The government man has sent for him. He offered him a job because he knew that he could be trusted. Tony worked for a man and was happy for the job. Never for once did he forget what he believed in when he was a little herder of his father's carabao. He was always honest in whatever he did, and his employer trusted him. Not long after, Tony was promoted as the head of the office. So here are the 8 questions that you're going to answer in your performance task. Oh, this bird must not fly away. Number 1, who are the characters in the story? Number 2, who is the protagonist and why? Number 3, what is the setting? Number 4, pick up some lines that prove the setting in the story. Number 5, if you are the government official, will you do the same? Why or why not? There you have it, guys. That ends our story for today. Our lesson for today. Thank you for listening. Just upload your answers to our Google Classroom. Remember that education is the movement from darkness to light. That is according to Alan Bloom. See you next time, guys. Bye.